So we deeply appreciate your commitment to address our participants, students, and some of the people are going to join soon. Uh, and that too on Sunday. Sunday, like you traveled all the in Hyderabad, you have home, and then you are here. We are very happy and we are very pleased. So thank you very much, sir, for accepting our request to be part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. And today is Silver Jubilee celebration. In a sense, this is the 25th lecture today. In this,
Wow,
so this is
that,
25th lecture, sir. On the we
that's
started. So today is the Silver Jubilee lecture, and so let me briefly introduce to my audience or our audience Professor B.C. Vivekanandan. He doesn't require any introduction. He is known authority in IP and other subjects, but still for the new students and for rituals or formalities, I will take liberty to seek your permission to introduce you to audience.
yes, sir.
Okay, thank
Short,
you very
short
much.
introduction will do, sir.
So I will go very short, sir. So, dear friends, dear colleagues, students, it's an immense pleasure for me to introduce Professor V.C. Vivekanandan, who currently serves as the uh, Vice Chancellor of Hidayatullah National Law University, Raipur. And Sir has been a legal educationist for more than 3 decades. He started as he was also as we are based in Delhi and NCR. So Sir was the founding dean of the School of Law at Bennett University between 2017 to 2019. He also served in addition to the Bennett University as the dean of the Rajiv Gandhi School of IP Law at IIT Kharagpur for a year. And he served for many years as the MHRD chair professor at Nalsar University, Hyderabad since 2008. And he also served in the National Law School, Bangalore, as a professor of law, Bangalore in 2009. So two places, in fact, both places, and we know that the growth of Bennett University. Personally, I had an opportunity to interact with you, and you involved in many activities. The growth of private university is very challenging, particularly in Delhi and NCR, where you have so many law schools, private law schools particularly in the region of Greater Noida. So a new law school, even if he has a brand, but to generate faith in the parents this law school will give something distinct different from the other law schools in private law school, which you have successfully established. And I have seen that during your time when you started with a two batch, gradually Bennett University approached the Bar Council of India for the more sections. So like it shows the growth was phenomenal. In a couple of years time there are a lot of changes has taken place, but and then because of your work you got a new position in the Hidayatullah National Law University, the place where you have gone. It has also I am associated, and I knew that a lot of issues and challenges which you have one by one in a very short span of time started solving. And I see the difference in the National Law School, Chhattisgarh, in recent time. Complete faculty or courses have been redesigned, and lot of academic activities are taking under place during your tenure is continuing, and we hope to see more activities in your tenure in the as a vice chancellor of the Hidayatullah National Law University. It shows and demonstrates clearly that deep commitment you have, both administrative as well as the academic commitment. It's not you are only administrative, you look into the both part and you deeply involved in understanding the academic issues, understanding and the administrative issues with a kind-hearted approach. I'll not say that you are people are afraid or scared to meet you or share their problem. People come with an open hand or without fear, and they come and they talk to you, and you always there to help them whatever the possible ways that is there. That is the quality. That is the greatest uh, assets you have, and we believe that that is the requirement of the all the vice chancellor or head of the institutions to follow the path which you are showing currently to the in various places. Uh, Professor Vivekanand was also involved in the policy negotiation in WIPO, Geneva, as Government of India representative between 2013 and 15. He also served as the founding director of Legal Information Institute between 2010 2012. He also got elected as a member of the Asia Pacific region at the ALAC, that is at large community of ICANN, that is the Internet Corporation of Assigned Names and Numbers between 2008 and 2010, and as the NOMCOM nominating committee member of the ICANN in 2010-2011. He is a member of the task for the State Planning Commission uh, of state of Chhattisgarh. So we feel very fortunate, we see and we read sometime about the icon, but your association, we feel very proud that you are part of this particular system, and you have better understanding, and that is due to your knowledge and understanding. You are a part of the various uh, IP related institution and organization. As a teacher, Sir teaches IP laws, internet laws, and corporate laws, and he also adjunct visiting professor in the business school of Buffalo University, serving since 2007 for the executive MBA program on business laws. He had been a research scholar at Maastricht University, Netherlands, and Institute of Intellectual Property at Tokyo in the past. He has vested with the innovation in legal teaching by Society of Indian Law Firms and Millet in 2017. His founder was the Professor Madhav Menon. I remember, and it's a great award in the legal field. He served as the jury of the CIA Innovation Award Committee between 2015 2019. His non-law interests are interesting cinema, music, and gardening. I hope that sir has already might have seen or may see the movie Suryavanshi in a day to come. So because sir has interest in movie also, so I hope. And so sir, thank you very much for, and it's give us immense pleasure to speak about you, to sharing your your achievement with the young students, lawyer, and other people, which will definitely motivate young people to aspire for what you have achieved till date. So thank you very much, sir, and over to you.
Thank you, Professor Sinha. I would rather simply put it, my presence is nothing but a reciprocity of your support, help, and guidance at HNLU, and prior to that in Bennett. And also, I have extensively used your campus classrooms on weekends for my
Sir,
diploma programs. And that was little longer history when you are in ISIL also. I remember
sir, sir,
we
sir.
used to really manage our examinations when you are in ISIL. So that way, I would say that it is my bounden duty to come over. As I said, there is a small mix-up happened. I thought it was some other date, and when you mentioned 2 days back, then I realized, and you were fair enough to oblige me by shifting it to the evening class session, so I could finish my today's long commitment at Nalsar, and then came down here in the evening. And I don't know about the participants. I'm slightly depriving them of us, good evening, but I would try to make that evening a better one for logging in here.
Thank
So,
you, sir.
we straight away, without much ado, begin my session. I'm going to share my screen because whenever we talk about social media, we are talking about a lot of visuals and a lot of things. So it's better I more than the oral discourse. If it is combined with a slideshow, that could be better. So
Sir.
I'm trying to what you call as uh, somebody. Can I? Is it visible to me or is
Yes, sir,
yes?
it's coming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
come. Okay. Now, let me start with the title. When Professor Sinha asked me, this is an area which I've been talking sometime in one or two occasions. So I thought I will slightly title it in a way. After all, end of the day, it is about today's social media, why it's a great attraction. Let me tell you, it is very different from a traditional oral history. So that's why I named it as cartographing IP issues in social media. IP being one of the area which I deeply research, I thought I will combine. So let me try to tell you what is cartography. Very simple English definition. A cartography is nothing but a discipline dealing with the conception, production, dissemination, and study of maps. Or, in other words, why do I use this term in this context? Is we are talking about a physical world phenomena which defines sovereignty. As all of us from law, we know one thing, a common denominator is law of the land, we call. Whenever I say law of the land, we are talking about sovereignty and we are talking about globe as a real world with real boundaries and then people, conducting their affairs in countries which is sovereign in nature. Let us keep that in mind because how this gets little intrigued and complex it becomes when I'm talking the next stop. Next one, I would say that, for example, I want to next go to social media, the definition. There are hundreds of definitions. You can have your own definition. This one I liked. Social media are just technologies that facilitate conversations by some but seen Cotton when he said defining social media in one of the blog, he said somewhere I felt it was very simple and it's really to the point because we all human beings and not only human beings, animals, not only animals, even plants seems to converse with each other. That's what we understand. Only thing we have a complicated, sophisticated language conversation. They all have some sound conversation or conversation by way of feelings. But so social media, whenever I say today, it's an integral part. We are waking up in social media and we are half asleep with social media, right? How many of you are sleeping without the mobile? I don't know. I most of the time, halfway, I am still dead tired, but I still like to browse a little and sleep. I don't know whether the doctors will tell this addiction is bad, but the point is it's an addiction in a sense, social media. What is social media? In a way, I would put it, it's a phenomena of virtual world. And that is directly opposite to the law of the land when you call real world. So you are really talking about we as in a way split personalities. We are in one sense in the real world, and another sense we are part of the virtual world. Often we get confused which world we are in and which world is correct, which world is the real me, I call it. So it is keep this at the background for me to elaborate my area because this as you said this type of special lectures are basically not about telling you what is what but rather triggering some critical thinking. Maybe some of you are still working on what projects to do. You can see a veritable topics which might emerge when you listen to some of these areas. So what is the daily dose of oxygen, right? You may say it's not so nice to talk about people in Delhi about oxygen, but still I'm using this as a euphemism that the daily dose of oxygen, right, is WhatsApp, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and which started as kind of fun, yes, now serious portent, serious implication with legal system itself. So that is where we are going to slowly move. But I'm going to click not on many legal issues, but only IP issues. I'll focus because of the short time we have on this lecture. So, what are the changing paradigm of social media? Again, the word social media, two words are there. The word media, and then we have prefixed with social media. Let me take media as a word. Print media. Radio is one of the important mass communication technique, which people say approximately, not so scientific, but this is where you read 50 years it took for the first 1 million people to tune into a radio. Same television took 25 years for the 1 million people to watch television program. Whereas internet, today internet is not the word, you call the word social media, reached a million people in less than 5 years. So you can see the phenomenal speed with which this technology gets connected with people. That's very crucial. And when it gets connected with people, what happens is what we'll be seeing. So what big difference between the old media and the new media? The old media like television or radio are passive technologies which broadcast or bring information and advertisement to the audience. It's a one-way process, they call it. It's called push technology. Some group of people decide what should be the news content in TV today. Some people decide what should be printed today, and that comes out. They don't decide arbitrarily, no doubt. They do decide keeping the audience in mind, TRP ratings, many things. But at the end of the day, they are the people who select and give you. You don't, what you call as, they don't consult you to do what news I should put it today. Obviously, this is a very, very important part. So, very minimalist interaction you have. So, basically, you're a consumer of the old media. That is very, very important. I'll come to the new media later. But if I tell the old media, it is good for a legal audience to know a little bit of background of media for us to understand even the IP issues. It's a private initiative with commercial origins. Many of us think news media means some great people's voice. No. Originally, the Lloyd's shipping company used to make some tabloid and send it. And after 3 months, the ship will come. This ship will contain these goods. It will unload here. You want to upload something there, this much space is available. This is what they said. But they did not have enough material. So in between, they started putting some news about UK, some news about the Queen, some, little bit of what I call as small columns. Then the daily advertisers started in 1730. They covered general events in between advertisements. So that is how it started. It evolved as an information between, then slowly and slowly, we are now seeing over a period of 200 years, the media itself came to be known as an interface between authorities and the society. Having said this, it itself was designated or often said as fourth estate or as a public watchdog of other estates. Let me tell you, the history is very bad. It paid a heavy price. William Cobbett, a political essayist, was imprisoned in 1810 for an article which he wrote. Also, much before him, a one penny stamp duty was imposed by then UK government. They called it as tax on knowledge because they are making you knowledgeable. And they said put a tax so that people cannot buy newspaper. Anyway, it was different days of democracy. Even in the land, we call it as mother of democracies. Slowly, I'm cutting short the time to see how the whole media evolved. It brought various information entertainment, sports, lifestyle, religious discourse, science, technology, apart from the political and public affairs. So, if I look at the legal part, the whole story about whatever media you call it, old or new media, it is a plural of medium. It mediates between whom? Public power holders and power generators, I call. The power is generated by the people, and somebody are designated to hold the power. And this is very crucial if you are really talking about open societies. Between private power holders, there is also private power holders, business, trade, voluntary organizations, individuals, and also power generators, that is the common man. So there is another set of people who are not formally the government, but even a professor could be part of a private power holder. And then between public power contenders and power generators, this means political parties, they are power contenders. They all try to communicate to the people who actually empower them. So this is, I'm giving a theoretical proposition. The good, bad, ugly of that, how far it is oscillating, it's a different, kind of chronology in a particular society or country's history. Having said this, the dissemination part, the functional part is active medium versus passive medium, social, political versus entertainment, ad driven versus value driven, ideological versus plural, information versus agenda setting role. So you really see many things, undercurrents running behind whenever I use the word media, which also gets reflected. So when I said social media, very interesting. The word social, we all know, is a very positive connotation. That is like a group of people, sociology. But actually speaking, the new media is also about political. The new media also is also about entertainment. Whatever I said, old media, It is part of the new media. But even though we are generically calling that as social media. And that is why the word social media looks very harmless. It's really harmless. But when you really get into social media, you'll really find the tag is social media, but it can be as violent than a normal, kind of writing or instigation or whatever it could be. So let us come to that little later. So, what is this media? Very funnily, for how does it look? John Hufes is a Canadian writer. He is actually a right to die activist. Many of you should be very interested in euthanasia and all. He is one of the biggest activists. He said the demi world of journalism is like the fun house mirrors that one find in carnival midways. In one reflection you are fat, in another one absurdly thin, in another one you are a flat head, in another one without a head. Bizarre reflections without resemblance most times of your image. The only difference is, unlike funhouse mirrors, the distortions are rarely a joke. It's a mirror, you'll often come. But if you really like that, I am considered it's a very crude thing. So obviously what happens, it is why the driving point is media mirrors many things. One you look different, one another one different. But where is the actual fact of that? Where does finally does? Can we be away from the mirrors? The answer is no. You cannot be away from the mirrors. But obviously, you're trying to find who you are really in a mirror. And this is the biggest challenge, whether you call it as traditional media or call it as a new media. Coming from the media discourse, slowly I'll move to IP within media, because when I talk media, the whole lot of gamut of legal systems are there. Constitutional issues are there, criminal law issues are there, consumer issues are there, defamation issues are there, many things are there, but let's focus on IP as part of social media. Having said that, now I want to tell the new media, when I said it's not push technology, it's push and pull technology. Users interact, share information, can sell and buy their goods, and can even date with each other and marry. Hence, its functions are nowhere comparable to the passive technology, or social media operates in a space which is very, very, very diverse and much more challenging and complicated than what you consider as a traditional media. One way it is you read the paper or you close the paper, open the television, shut down the television. But social media seems to be very, very integral part of not just whiling away your time, but important things what you're doing. Now, how does it's an extension? One of the definition, a new technology does not add or subtract from something, it changes everything, the way you look things. And that is one of the person wrote in an article in a book called Technopoly. He says this is a very different way a technologist is approaching. Or a law professor said it's a device that allows people to get together and control their own destiny, much like a nation state. Very interesting. We are really talking about a virtual republic and then a real republic. The real republic is there is a parallel virtual republic. He says this is so powerful, and it is so powerfully you follow, you come together, and then you try to, what you call as this is what I call cartographing in the social media than what you call cartographing in the real world of maps. Now, what is this new republic? Another political scientist attracted me when he said, such polities are imagined communities which each person feels bond with millions of anonymous fellow citizens. In centuries past, people looked up to kings or bishops, but in an age of mass literacy and printing in vernacular language, horizontal ties matters most. And so this gets very well reflected in this new republic I call. I need not tell you, many of you should be in Facebook. I think, whether, many of us rush to Facebook to update, to put things and to connect and see what happens. Suddenly you have followers in Facebook, Twitter, many things. These are all what you call as imagined communities. So online communities were transcending the limits of conventional states. This is one of our legendary professor from Harvard, Lawrence Lessig. You must have read him. Please read his available book in internet called Code version 2. He says these communities would find it difficult to stand neutral in this international space. Earlier, we never bothered what happened. Be a Roman in Rome. I don't bother what happens in my neighboring street, leave alone neighboring area, leave alone my own state or other states in the country or in the world. Today, I am into a virtual space of many things and I do take stands. More often, I'm taking stands than what I would not have done 2, 3 decades before. And that's the kind of power you find the social media, I call it, happens. So, in such case, I'm giving you the magnitude of social media to look at how IP issues come. So, if I look at important characteristics, communicative in nature, easy to generate content, easy to share and reshare information, high speed, widely accessible, low resource cost investment, multimedia, long data retention, informal and conversational. And that is what attracts. I and Professor Singhal could just, I was sitting in some other meeting and he urgently said, you forgot your topic. It just took little time for me to, send the topic back. And then I get some in between time, I'm able to send my small CV or a photograph. All this is possible because I'm talking about a very different world which I'm living in called social media. Now, having given you a kind of length and breadth of media, social media, how does IP issue matters? Of course, it's sometimes called as old wine in a new bottle, right? The old wine is same. Copyright, trademarks, trade secrets, patents, all of us we know. These are all running last 300 years in modern legal development, in different countries, in different ways. And there is divergence and convergence. Of course, TRIPS brought in a certain level of convergence all over the world and when people have signed. Let us look how this plays out in social media. Let me take copyright in social media. There are two types of things which you might be encountering. One is user generated content. That is what you do. I'm pretty sure that you make some comments. I'm pretty sure you try to see a scenario and draw a picture. Or a photograph is there, you make comments on the photograph, right? You make comments to the photograph and then you do this. This is called user generated content, right? I was just watching. You all know if you're in southern part, I belong to the southernmost state of Tamil Nadu. So I keep watching what's happening on the huge floods in the last 1 week. So veritable memes are coming in WhatsApp. So one person writes that the foreigner invented a bathtub in their house. A Tamilian invented house in the bathtub, you know, and two bathtub and one house in water, and below he has written. This I call user generated content. If I put two photographs of a bathtub and a house and a water, it doesn't make any sense. But I have generated content or a humor. This is called user generated. I got this and I immediately shared it with few people in Chennai, and that is called user posted content. I post it, I forward it. Now the big question is, do you have a right to forward it? Do you have a right to put it to somewhere? Because you all know copyright simply means infringement. The definition is any communication to the public without authorization of the copyright owner is what we learned and what is the law. And here is that every day I don't even know whose copyright it belongs, but I keep sharing. I might say what I'm sharing is private or public. I might say I'm sharing only to one or two people, but others may say one or two. Within a matter of 10 minutes, I'll tell you, 1 million people would have shared overall. So now look at the new challenge you are getting from the very old copyright printing, unauthorizedly printing a book and a case, all that stuff. Today you are having this type of sharing, what I call economy, where you keep doing this and then user generated content and user posted content. Please contemplate where do we allocate copyright in social media. Now, let me tell you, I don't know, have you ever read the social media, the IP policy of Twitter? Please do go back. If you're not done, I'm just giving you some glimpse. You retain your rights to your content. You submit, post, or display on through the services. What is yours. I'm thinking Twitter is a very generous organization. They are telling what is yours. Very good. But you own your content, your photos, videos. But look at the next part. By submitting, posting, or displaying content, you grant us a worldwide, non exclusive, royalty free license. Right? They have now appreciated you and they have generously taken that right from you because by the mere signing and being part of Twitter, you're agreeing to allow the content for a worldwide use by Twitter, right? This is one of the way of an IP being transferred very quietly because you're using a free service and a most what I call an exciting and adrenal, creating thing like Twitter. Let's see the other people. What is the other people are telling? So, for the content is covered by intellectual property. This is Facebook, right? Not Twitter, Facebook. Facebook says same thing. See the red color part. You give us permission, subject to your privacy and application setting. You grant us a non-exclusive, transferable, sub-licensable, royalty-free, worldwide license to use any IP content that you post or in connection with Facebook. So this is the status of intellectual property in Facebook. Let's go to the Facebook's younger sibling, I call it, and more popular, WhatsApp. WhatsApp does not claim ownership, but it also says right to grant the rights and licenses in our terms. And that is period. So you're talking about WhatsApp. So if I look at what I call other rights when you call in YouTube. If you believe your copyright protected work was based on YouTube without authorization, you may submit a copyright infringement notification. Be sure to consider whether fair use, fair dealing, or a similar exception to copyright applies before you submit. So, in a way, many of you must be tracking IT Act. Earlier was big problem for service providers, for content providers. Then they brought in the safe harbor, they call it, a kind of a right which many of these platforms could, shift the proof to somebody else. So what YouTube does, we are not liable for anything. It is you who have to check whether what you are uploading, what you are posting, what you propose to send it to others, will it violate our copyright or not? And that is left, that due diligence should be done by you. They requested it should be only submitted by the copyright owner or an agent authorized to act on one's behalf. Imagine every day we are hundreds of YouTube we are posting to others. We are taking a link and doing. I'm not telling it's draconian law will catch you, but the point I'm trying to tell, one interesting point is the real world law and the virtual world law or operations are so different in terms of their operational dynamics. Sometimes we think whether is there any feasibility or anywhere your real world law can be applied at all. And that's the kind, or should we really rethink the whole copyright regime in a virtual world in a different way than the 300, 400 years which we worked in the real world called print book. Certain other mediums are there. It is not this type of process medium like films or songs. Now, in a nutshell, the content of social media is governed by the copyright law of the land. Fair use will only be a clear legal cover for anyone. That is, fair use simply is now worldwide defined as the purpose and character of the use, the nature of the copyrighted work, the amount and substantiality of the portion, the effect of use upon the potential market for a value. This was successfully managed as long as in the real world. This jurisprudential platform, case laws, many things. But when you look at social media, let me tell you, the only word it comes to my mind is free for all. Free for all. If I have to book IP violation in social media, I don't think so anyone in the society will be left free. That is the kind of that is the kind of I call it as a tsunami or avalanche, or in modern times a pandemic, I would call it, in social media happening. And so one does not know, one keeps a kind of IP foundation one way, and operationally the IP foundation is what they used to tell international law as the vanishing point of jurisprudence. And today in social media, I would even venture out to tell IP law is a vanishing point. Social media is where IP law is a vanishing point. That's a kind of thing. I'm just telling how many you prosecute, how many you capture, what you do. These are all things which the legal scholars have to think for their further research. Now, social media and trademarks. I move from copyright. Parody, impersonation, cyber squatting, trademark infringement, all these issues could come up because trademarks are also given for personality traits, right? Personality traits are, marked as in entertainment law and many places, they give personality rights. And when you do parody of a trademark, what happens? And impersonation happens quite often. Cyber squatting means domain name, trying to take the domain name, and also other infringement. Parody. What does Twitter say? Twitter users are allowed to create parody, commentary, or fan accounts. Twitter provides a platform for the user to share and receive wide range of ideas and content we greatly value. Because of these principles, we do not actively monitor user content and will not edit or remove user content except in cases of violations of terms of service. And so that is open house for Twitter. But the users, what kind of legal impact or somebody filing a case, it's an entirely different thing. So what you consider as a parody or a commentary or a fan account could be entirely contested by somebody else. So it looks like this is where you will say that it's going to generate more cases for lawyers, but at the same time, you're going to get a lot of people whom they consider this as a very liberating free world. Is not that free world when it comes to their own policy. Impersonation is pretending to be another person in order to deceive. Impersonation is a violent which they may remove. Cyber squatting, if you select a username for your account and reserve the right to remove reclaim, these are all related to your trademark. As much trademarks we talk, domain names we talk. And so this is the equivalent, I call it, in social media, which new issues are going to increasingly pop up, which might lead to more closer scrutiny of legislations relating to trademark in the virtual world. Name squatting, you may not engage in name squatting. Accounts that are inactive for 6 months may also be removed without further notice. Then using a company or a business name, trademark protected materials in a manner that may mislead or confuse others or used for financial gain will be a trademark policy violation. Accounts with clear intent. This is how Twitter wants you. Now, I dealt a little bit of copyright and trademark, how it plays out. Now, let me talk about trade secret. All of you know, trade secret simply means a commercially valuable information which is kept within the organization between stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders? Employers, employees, third party. In any organization, employer, employee, and then there'll be a third party who could be what I call as outsourcing or a contract. All of them do have work on something which they consider as confidential, which means you sign a contract of confidentiality agreement or non-disclosure agreement (NDA), which is considered as one of the oldest IP. I would call it, much before patent, copyright, trademarks came, right? People kept it secret. Now, what happens? What are the problem in social media? People love to write blog post. Every person today in social media is a publishing baron. You don't need to be a Rupert Murdoch to run some big media conglomerate, right? Each one of you are a publisher. Each one of you is a what I call a budding Shakespeare or a Bernard Shaw. Every one of us just we are the keyboard. We start clicking blog post. When we do a blog post or a tweet or posting any YouTube content, sharing on FB could lead to a trade secret violation. One of the recent incident, very interesting, was a company which is what you call as the company which makes Covaxin, Bharat Biotech. Last year, when they were on the trial, suddenly in WhatsApp one image came. One of the senior vice president taking a shot in the hand. At that time, still people don't know when the vaccine is going to come. And the news below was the senior vice president, some name, getting the first trial shot. It was, you won't believe, viral it went. I understood almost he was about to be sacked by the company. A very senior person who was instrumental also working in that. The reason, what happened? It was a short, he asked, it's a historic moment. He's trying something, the very first thing internally. So he asked some nurse to take a photo in his mobile. And after all, who is near and dear to his wife, he shared. And for his wife, there is one more near and dear son who's working was studying in a college. She shared, and then he had a lot of near and dear, and each near and dear had some other near and dear. And then you won't believe it was considered as blasphemous by the company because the company is working that in a very, very confidential manner because you don't know what could happen, many things. And something they try inside, there will be legal issues propping up. So, why I say this example, human beings are by nature, you, me, everyone, cannot keep secrets, let me tell you. If you keep the secret too much, when they say that our head will break, because we are by nature social, right? We are nature by social. We may be in a group of social and we may not like other group. That's different. But this is very, very important. But if you are in social media, the one of the IP advice to the company or anybody is that be careful that any trade secret violation could cost very damaging, kind of proposition if that is being done. Quite often, this thing happens in social media, leaked, content, leaked, information, which happens because I consider social media as a fatal attraction. It is such a fatal attraction. And so this is a very careful thing which one has to look. Now, as I said, even disclosure of the elements of patent, you all know novelty of the invention is sacrosanct before a patent filing date. If you file before the patent date, you went and beautifully explained something, and then somebody will tell this is no more novel. Your patent can get knocked off. So these are all small things which you have to keep in mind. So, for the lighter side, as Professor Sinha somewhere tried to fathom why I like movies, or music, I always consider these two keep me the drudgery of law in a very much. Law, in my opinion, is very dry, right? Or we made it dry. I don't know, right? It's high time that law has its, own fun quotient. So probably cinema and other things give me a lot of immense, what you call as distraction. Now, very interesting. If some of you are following Bollywood, very famous personalities are there. The top man is once considered as the what I call the real model hero. Brad Pitt is there on the top. His wife Angelina Jolie. You know, right? They used to, really, really, combine them and they split. That is a, and that is a, that's a what I call as mandate of Hollywood. Always they have to split, right? So coming into, you are seeing many, many talk show experts, Meryl Streep, many people are there in this film. This is a very joyous occasion, Oscar. Now, what is the issue? I'll tell you. This was flashed all over social media, in all agencies, Reuters, many people, the day, because all of them coming for after the award, they were all standing and posing. And we all love celebrities. And when celebrities of different things come together, this is a picture everybody love to see again and again. And what is the issue? I'll tell you interestingly. It's a selfie. What you're seeing is a selfie. You know, selfie is the art of not having a cameraman, but taking yourself in even as a group. A selfie is a spontaneous photograph. I'm giving a definition because lawyers cannot get out of the syndrome of definition, right? So the selfie in question is Ellen, Bradley Cooper, Meryl Streep, Kevin Spacey, Julia Roberts, her, much more. The phone belonged to Ellen. She attempted to take a selfie, positioned it, but could not really do it properly. And so gave it to Bradley Cooper, who was standing in the side, because taking selfie is a big art, right? You have to cover as many people as much close. Then Bradley Cooper clicked the image. Then that was tweeted by Ellen, and Associated Press, one of the big news agency, later took the permission from her to retweet the image. Look at it. They took a retweeting. It went viral. I'm telling about social media and IP. Now, what are the IP issues? Is selfie is copyrightable? Obviously, I'm the photographer. I do the selfie. But here the problem, the phone belonged to Ellen and the angle was positioned by Ellen. But actually, Bradley Cooper took the actual shot of clicking. Now, who is the author here? One who clicked, or one who positioned it, or one who owned the phone. Ellen was hired by the academy over and above to do the show. And in such case, is it the right of the academy which will own work for hire? Do you need to take a permission license to retweeting selfies, as the main purpose of tweeting is to retweet? Hey, what is this? Tweet means I have to retweet. That's how tweet gets its importance. Without that, tweet has no common sense and meaning to be in Twitter. So people ask these questions. I'm telling you, this is not, nobody filed any case. This I give it to my LLM to come and imagine and tell me what could be if a client approaches you on this. So I'm just telling, very, very innocuous, happy occasion could have very complex legal issues coming up if you're applying a real world IP into a modern world social media spread, as well as things what are done. So now I come to the next one. David Slater is a wildlife enthusiast. He left the camera one day in Indonesia. He was in a dense forest. Suddenly he encountered a Indonesian monkey. Very came near to him. He just put the camera down, and the Indonesian monkey, he named it later. He gave a name called Naruto. Naruto took the selfie, which means Naruto was curious about his mobile. He took and clicked itself. And then somehow he's not interested. It threw the phone away. And David Slater took the phone back and he saw the picture of Naruto. And he put it to a magazine which paid him. And he said, "This is the first selfie by a monkey called Naruto." Then Wikimania took that from the, what I call, paper and published it without his permission. Right? And David Slater filed a case. He said it's his copyright violation. Then Wikimania argued, who does the copyright belong to? Is it to the Slater or to Naruto? And would you believe this case went on for a few years in US about, it's a famous Naruto versus Slater, that who is having the copyright, and the whole backdrop is social media and viral. So Ninth Circuit Appeals Court held Naruto as a non-human monkey. I really don't know whether it is pun intended by the court that there are human monkeys. It said non-human monkey has locus standi and Article 3 of the American Constitution, jurisdiction or lack thereof, to sue for injunctive and other reliefs, but lacks similar standing under copyright law. It has other rights, animal rights you call. But copyright law, as on today, we are not giving it to non-human monkeys. Or read in bracket, it is only to human monkeys. You want to read it that way. The point what I'm trying to put across is it is now a new type of jurisprudence which is developing. So if anybody want to see how Naruto looks, this is the beautiful, selfie taken by Naruto. I think it did a fantastic job of itself. And then peacefully Naruto went away. And in the side story was PETA entered the fray. The people for ethical treatment to animals, they jumped into the fray and said, any money which is given as compensation to Slater should be spent for upkeep of the monkeys in Indonesia, and please give the money to us. We will take care, they said. So it was a very high drama court. You really find intellectual property happening in the Naruto's thing that way. Winding up, IP tech law means every social media is now getting tagged to IP. The user need to be aware that there is a lawyer waiting to send you a notice, right? And I'm sure that many of you are going to pass out and send the notice, right? For an organization, if you're a council, I would say prepare an institutional strategy to handle IP in the imploding world of social media. If you're a counsel, if you're a lawyer, don't say, let them make a mistake so that you have a chance to send a notice. That is one way of putting it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you very much, sir, for a brilliant session on IP. And you started with the sovereignty, real world and virtual world, and how sovereignty is no longer, if I say, because of the internet, is no longer sacrosanct. So international lawyer, they believe sovereignty is sacrosanct, but I think it has been diluted by the internet, by the globalization, by the trade that are there. You number of issues you have raised, and also uh, elaborated. It's not only you raised, you identified and you answered also that, and given a point for many young students to think over, and to think over critically and undertake research work on these topics in days to come. We have, as a practice, we'll take couple of questions if you permit for 10 minutes, and then we'll wind up, sir.
Yeah.
So we have one question already in the chat. It says, can you explain your opinion on WhatsApp chat leak in Sushant Rajput case?
Well, it's not an IP issue, but what I am trying to tell is very simple. The point is, even though WhatsApp says, WhatsApp gives you a guarantee end-to-end encrypted, which means from one end to another end. Whenever you say leak, it simply means, you know, somebody getting hold of it, or you give it to someone. I don't want to show it to some directly. I don't want to get into the fray. I make a photocopy, give it to somebody. So similarly, WhatsApp conversations can be recorded. It only promises end-to-end encryption. So WhatsApp is nowhere connected with the leak, right? If there is a, if something can be their algorithm can be broken, somebody can eavesdrop, it's a different story. But they are only telling end-to-end encrypted. But if somebody in the chain of encrypted, that the conversation, I record it, because you can record conversations. That's an essential function. And then I pass it on to someone, and then you don't know where it originated from. That is how suddenly you will see a newspaper getting in their office a cover. Olden days, they sent a material document like that. Today, it's nothing but WhatsApp conversation. So, that's what I said. A lot of high profile things has a lot of strategic war happening in the unconventional sense of what I call as material leak, sometimes partly true, partly doctored, or taking something out of context and putting. This is very essential, what I call a human war. So WhatsApp as such has no liability in this, And secondly,
Sir.
it's not a WhatsApp issue. It's not an IP issue, but there is nothing IP in this because WhatsApp has IP and non-IP also. If a flood alert I am putting, it's not an IP matter in WhatsApp. But if I'm going to put a clip of a song, Let me tell you, the song copyright owner has every locus standi to come and file a case.
Sir, may
All
I ask
right.
some, sir?
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure.
Sir, if I share some data with you, so you hold the right to share anywhere else, or it's my intellectual property.
I am voice is feeble. If Professor Sinha can tell me back, I can.
Could you repeat? Even I had a problem. Naman, could you speak louder and clear?
Yeah, sir, I'll repeat it. Sir, if I share a data with you,
Okay,
so you can share it to the third person, or it's I hold a right on it.
okay. Sir, suppose he shares like data with me and I share to the third person whether he holds the right on that particular like data.
Depends. It depends. If the data what you're sharing is part of an answer or a project you are supplying, am I right? To that extent, the teacher or someone can evaluate and put it. But at the same time, that whether they can share the data with somewhere, the answer is no. In fact, that's what. Or if there is a data waiver policy which you have signed, then it's then you cannot do most of the theses whatever people submit. You will have two types of clauses. One is that it is of course belongs to you and you are the author, but you submit it for some evaluation purpose. They tell you not to publish it before you submit, so that it is considered as the original work at that point of time. Whether the institute or university can use it or not will also depend upon certain conditions of creation of the work. If in the laboratory some technical things are used, then the institution will have a hold on the whole thing. If it is a purely writing thing, and if they say that institute will, would like to hold a copyright on that, and you waive your right and you sign for it, and then probably you have to do that. Otherwise, the data what you give, if it is a generated data by you, by common sense as well as fundamental thing, it belongs to you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Very much, sir.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay. Uh, so my doubt is concerning, the unconsented song remix and ownership of copyright, especially in this social media era. My doubt stems from the incident which happened sometime back. The Oscar-winning composer A.R. Rahman. So his song Masakali was remade as a version Masakali 2, and it was uploaded in YouTube. He did not essentially, had knowledge about the same, and it was a huge controversy later. So the Copyright Act and the subsequent 2012 amendment also does not mention musical work, or how do we address the concern when to whom does the copyright lies with, to the original producer of the movie or the composer? So how far are we able to address the right of the authors of certain works, especially concerning musical works in the social media era? Because when a song gets uploaded, it's subsequently shared on other mediums as well, like Instagram or Facebook. Like, how do we protect the right of composers, especially in this scenario?
I agree with you. See, some are basic question. Where does the right arises? Copyright law is very clear. There is a musical right for the tune, what Rahman has put. He may not own the right on the lyrics. Lyrics belongs to the lyricist. He belongs to the musical tune which he has done. And then second, whether he is still owning the right or he has sold it outright as a work for hire, whether he is a partly owning, that we don't know. We have to see the contract, the transactional thing between ex composer and the producer. Not necessarily always producers own everything. Big composers, they dictate terms and condition. Like certain rights they have, certain rights they give. These are the two things as far as rights are concerned. But if in social media, that's what I said, you will have hundreds of sites, including YouTube. You know, people are uploading. People have a notion thinking it's free to share. And YouTube safeguards itself by, I told you about their IP policy. Anybody seriously connects and gives a complaint, they will immediately remove the content. If they are not given proper thing, they don't act upon it. There's a big team which keeps working, removing this. Now, if you think who has to sue, definitely whether you know or I know, Rahman knows his own rights. He has to sue. But what happens, as I told you, why do you sue? Basically, if it is a problem of a loss, what you have. In today's world of social media, what happens is people now have incorporated everything. For example, earlier movies have to run for 15 days, 20 days, 1 month. Now OTT they are releasing, which means lump sum amount is taken. The OTT companies have worked out a business model, and then within the budget they make the film, they run. Business model change. So even earlier pirated cassette, pirated thing they were raiding. Now today I am telling you, you have to really, it is like finding a non-pirated thing is like a needle in a haystack. That is the kind of situation you're having, whether in social media, YouTube, or anywhere. So what happened is, if they want to make a statement, they will file a case. They don't want, they just leave it. They just leave it for people to, use it, enjoy it, whatever. That's why I said in WhatsApp also, we are forwarding, I am forwarding many songs. But if somebody is going to send me a legal notice, definitely I will say sorry. I will not do that again. Because what else I have a right to tell that I can't communicate to the. I will communicate to the public because social media I cannot declare. It's a free world, right? The IP in the real world is there and lurking. In social world, I said the impossibility. I call it. It is like couple of cops, standing in guard. They can catch one or two fellows running. If there are 1,000 people are coming, the two cops also will join them and run. That's all. So this is the situation in the beginning I told in my lecture. IP is becoming a vanishing point in many, many things in social media. Selectively you can use if you want.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
I have a question. Sir, you nicely placed it, but recently we have observed that Government of India were trying to have a regulation and control over the social media affairs as such. And to the extent, as we gathered from the informations that they want to codify the law related to that. So from your perspective, sir, how IP is to be considered by the government and giving a very fair deal to this social media affairs? Sir.
That's what I said. It is suddenly everything has gone topsy turvy. I would say one of the big game changer has been YouTube itself. WhatsApp, GitHub, and all came later, right? YouTube was a real, what I call as, it's a break from everything else. It was not some evolutionary process. So the point, that's what I said. The only way is people who want to protect IP. Why do you want to protect IP? Basically for investment, return on investment. IP people are protecting not because it is something spiritual or sacrosanct. It's return on an ROI. So they have to find out new business model. For example, when piracy was at peak through, you must have, heard about a long term back, 15 years back, there was a thing called Napster, which was one of the early case of, music piracy in internet. And when Napster was vehemently opposed by 5 big recording companies, later on, you don't need a Napster, which was a kind of a software built. But now everything is Napster in WhatsApp. So what they did was, Apple, what it did was simple. To legitimize, they are now later they brought iTunes. $1, 99 cents you can buy a song, whichever you like, and take a license. Now, Sarigama and or Ghana, all of them, what they do, subscribe 99 rupees per month. Have as much song you want. Right. More than 99, I am making a business model of paying people and getting it. Because end of the day, more people are now, one way all these technologies are democratized. People's access, I call it. But might be looking illegal from the old legal system. But you try to legalize in a different way, then you look at it. End of the day, that innovation need not be always in law. Innovation can be in business model. And then try to work out the law around it. That's very crucial. Otherwise, you're going to stick to some Puritan law. Neither the law succeeds nor the business succeeds.
Thank you, sir. So, anyone else?
you, sir.
Yeah. So I think, sir, we have reached on the end of the session,
Yes.
and today the session was very enlightening, and it new perspective, more a practical way to look into the four important aspects which IP is you have narrated today. That is the copyright, trademark, trade secret, and patent. And you ended with saying it seems that IP law is in the vanishing point of the law. So IP law, and then there are a lot of challenges. Violation is very common, but how many people are approaching to the legal remedies for that? These things are the main challenge. But days to come, it's importance will grow. Social media will take what I believe more or less it has occupied the space of the television, radio, newspaper, also print media, and it's going to stay there for the longer. Maybe after 10-15 years we see some new changes or something new will come in place of the social media. And again, we have to, but we have to prepare, and we have to be always on the lawful side, or at least the legal side. So same as you said, you can pay 99 and you take, nobody is so you have access, you can access without lawfully also, you have no idea. But the moment you 99, you get complete access of the songs, as much song you want, and just merely 99, it saves you from there. Sir, with this, I believe that all of us request you that you have to come again, because the interesting way the way you have made a presentation, and we would like to learn on a specific topic each occasion on the copyright, patent, and others. So more in the you today you covered in the limited time, but I believe you have plenty of stock to take hours together only on the copyright, only on the trademarks, on the trade secret and patent. So some other occasion, whenever you have time, we'll get in touch, and we'll arrange a talk either offline or online. In both my mode, we'll be very happy to have you before our students and before our participant. With this, sir, thank you very much, and look forward for your continuous support to the Indian Law Institute and all of us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Sinha. I do love to come over online or offline as things are slowly subsiding. I'd like to come to a very
Sir,
familiar place like ILI to interact with
sir,
people and then take up what I call as frontline areas, what's happening in law for a discussion. Thank you very much from my
thank,
end for this opportunity.
thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And if you allow us, we can log out now.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.